Hello! Back again, recording some more gameplay. Playing a Basira Kaizaimon deck, so just to go into them quickly. Whenever you gain a boost, you can exhaust the hero to get another boost on any character. Quite powerful. I like to involve a lot of season strategies, try and build up a really big thing that I can keep playing from reserve. Brava's Blade Dancer is fantastic from that. With that in mind, I think I want to try and keep this as my opening hand. Means I can play the Blade Dancer, buff them up with, I want to say Chiron, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Chiron, maybe? And then replay them again with Brava's Vanguard. Now, they get rid of their own fleeting, so hopefully I won't need to play the Vanguard for a while until it gets really big, but it's still a nice thing to keep in hand. Maybe consider keeping in hand like the Haven Warrior instead, or even the Intimidate for control. I might do that actually. I quite like this rare version of the Haven Warrior. Especially since they're leading, I can kind of see what they play. Against Lyra, they often have uneven stats, so it's very possible that the combination of the Blade Dancer and the Chiron can get me a turn 1 advance. Certainly not against that, however. 3 mana 5/3/3 has some terrifying stats. When it goes to reserve from the Expedition Zone, you may return a spell from your reserve to your hand. Very cool. Not relevant here, but stats are amazing for the cost. Alright, let's just play out this combo, start to get some boosts on my Seasoned card. Just to explain that a little bit, Seasoned is when it goes to reserve, you get to keep the boosts. So even each time you play it, it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. Alright, keep building it up. And pass. Next turn I could honestly just play... no I can't because it costs 3. I find this really weird that you have to confirm them using their abilities, which is quite interesting. Seems like it might be a bug or some weird unintentional implementation. So it looks like next turn I can probably play the Blade Dancer and maybe Helping Hand. 3 mana. Very likely I just play it again without anything else. Kind of an awkward mana costs that I've got going on. Can't really play 2 things in a turn, which is unfortunate. Since I have Helping Hand, it's probably not worth keeping the Vanguard, as I can get rid of Fleeting from here instead. Kinda just depends what they get. Capabella Training. That's interesting. So what I think I want to do is I want to play out the Blade Dancer again. Kind of feign it not being able to get rid of its own fleeting. Have them hit it with... it will get rid of its own fleeting. Then they'll reapply it with Capabella Training. I can cancel that with Helping Hand. Hopefully that pays off. As always, I kind of want to get them moving off their starting square. So I'm going to play here so they get moved off this starting position. Especially against Lyra. I like them to be on places where they have to think about what they can play. Just because their stats often mean that they'll just not be able to play to half of the biome they're on. The inverse is also true. It's better to be on a triple verse Lyra because of that, but I think both parts of it apply. Unfortunate. I was hoping they would do this first. Now I'm kind of just opening myself up to getting Capabella Trained. It is what it is. A big card advantage loss here, actually, getting sabotaged and losing my Blade Dancer, but I'm hoping I can come back from that. Have another option? Yeah, I can't do anything else to avoid it, so we'll just let it happen. I've started seeing this card more and more. It's always been a card I found quite interesting. The impact of it is not particularly high, the fact that you just give something fleeting. But for 1 mana and the ability to play it twice, it can generate a lot of card advantage. I think that's actually the standout thing to me with Fen and Crowbar, is because you get an extra player turn, that 1 free play from what gets put into reserve, you can afford to play a lot more card advantage neutral cards like Capabella Training, since you're up 1, if you trade that 1 for one of their plays, you suddenly start to see like quite good returns from that. What do we got here? We have the Haven Warrior, Intimidation for Control, and Physical Training. We'd just play Haven Warrior Physical Training, guarantee a move somewhere. Intimidation is kind of an iffy card. It bounces it back to their hand, so you're not really getting rid of the card. And abstractly, I want to keep helping hand around so I can get back a little bit of that card advantage. So let's just take the straightforwards Bravos play of Haven Warrior, Physical Training. You can't beat me on this square. Fortunately, this doesn't have Seasoned, but it's fine. At least I'm going second, so I can see what they do first. If they play a big thing out, like if they play this cap route, I can even beat that. What are they returning to hand here? Probably the Tanuki. Just to get the... I guess they just want to be able to play it more often. Makes sense. Just remember its stats. I think it's a 3 mana 5/3/3. I can return a spell to their hand. Alright, so we're seeing the Inkcaster here. So they are on grass, which means combined with the Kappa in their hand, they can go to 5, 6, 7, and I'm at 4, 5, 6, 7, which means I'll be able to tie with their grass while beating them on water. So I like the idea of playing this here. They can just play to the other side and get the win there and not try and risk beating me, but see what they do. This at least opens up the opportunity for me to outplay them. It's quite obvious though, like I think it's very clear that I have something up my sleeve. But I guess I can just try and play stupid. Maybe they don't think that I know that they know. Yeah, that's what I suspect. Considering they have no mana here, there's no reason for me to play Physical Training. I suppose that's the one case that could be made for keeping Intimidation. Could have stopped them and get an advantage here, but I'm happy enough with this resolution. Notably, they get Tanuki back to hand with the Ouroboros Inkcaster, so they will have a Sabotage play. Means I want to spend this Haven Warrior as quickly as possible. Also really annoying since a lot of my deck is based around getting rid of Fleeting. So it's really countered by Sabotage. And if things keep going back to my reserve, then I'm being able to get things out of my reserve. Although once again, they might just return the Kappa. No, okay. Alright, what do we see here? I have a Physical Training, Manitoska, Mighty Djinn. Assuming I want to play out this Haven Warrior. I do, or at least want to use it in some way. I don't have any great targets for its +1 boost effect. So I'll play it out, 3 mana remaining. At which point, Ratatoska plus one of these two seems like a good play. Can't really afford to play the Djinn this turn, so just put the Djinn into mana early. More Fleeting. More Fleeting is very scary. I basically can't afford to leave anything in my reserve versus their deck, I guess. Let's play to the right-hand side here, since they can only counter with water. Is that their Kappa isn't that strong? Whereas having the Versa 3 mana 5 grass on a grass slot doesn't seem particularly compelling to me. I've stopped recording my mouse, so I can hopefully edit around it a bit easier, take out some of the longer gaps in play. But hopefully it's not too disruptive, like it won't be, confusing when something pops up on screen and I won't motion to something, but it might be a bit disruptive, so hopefully it's not. Alright, Kappa comes out again. Kappa comes out on the grass side. Kind of what we expected. Can I do anything with Ratatoska here? So it comes out as a 1, goes to a 4, but it does compete against Kappa, especially with my power. So I think I will play this left and see what they counter that with. It kind of baits out them playing the Inkcaster to the left, or something else from their hand. Interesting, cost reduction. Just to try and counter the fact that I can advance here. That's interesting. Obviously, that would beat this. So, a couple things here. I could play Physical Training on the Ratatoska and boost it, which would give it 4 boosts, bringing it up to a 5/5/5. This gets me an advance on the left-hand side. I could use Helping Hand to get an advance on the right-hand side with Haven Warrior, and this also puts it into my reserve, so they can only sabotage one of the two things. But I do want to get an advantage. Since we're at parity currently, getting ahead lets me just play to a draw to win the game. Like if I keep going 1 for 1, I would win the game. I think that's the play. Especially since they have no mana left, it means that they can't do anything surprising. It also does put physical training into my reserve, so it does fork their sabotage effects out again. They'll almost definitely get rid of the Ratatoska. Probably get rid of the Ratatoska. Just so I can't play things out more, but physical training is a fine thing to have in reserve. Really happy with the outcome of this turn. Means I can get ahead without sacrificing too much. Thinking about it a little, it doesn't really fork the reserve since they're almost definitely just going to get rid of Ratatoska. I play something, they get rid of physical training. It's rough out here. But I do have first play next turn. Provost Bastion is kind of bad for just how much fleeting they have. The Helping Hand is almost bad for the same reasons, but I do want to trigger my effect this turn, and I can't guarantee either one of these firing. I think I get rid of the Bastion as much as that hurts. My one hope is that if I play out a seasoned character first, they might get worried and keep a sabotage effect. As expected. So yeah, I'll play out the red, I'll play her to... I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm mostly scared of this Hatter coming out and stonewalling me again. Both of my locations care about grass, so I can do that either way. Should just play to the location where they need to care about water, which they don't have a lot of on display. So we'll see if they play the Tanuki from hand here, just to sabotage the physical training. Probably would, considering how low I am on reserves. The rare Serenos is an interesting inclusion. I wonder what it does in the deck. Like, if nothing else, I suppose it's just kind of a cheap, good statted creature, but it feels like it doesn't synergize particularly well. Maybe they have this anchored theme, like the Hatter anchors 3 costs or less. It's also another rare Muna card that anchors 3 costs or less. Maybe that's a consideration. Yep, okay. You see the Tanuki comes out, that's what it's expected. Kind of interesting they went to that side. So, immediately I'm going to anchor the, boost them. Trigger my effect here, just in case they have yet another sabotage effect. And honestly, I'll probably just play Helping Hand again on it. They only have 2 mana here, so they probably only have 1 more play. That'll become quite obvious if I need to use Helping Hand or not, but I wouldn't be sad to use it again. Anchoring the Tanuki makes some amount of sense. They are on Earth again next turn. I'd probably like to get more value out of that, like Serenos or Anansi is a really big one in the Lyra deck. You've seen my previous video, Anansi does wonders in that deck. It's very quickly like a 3 mana, 6/6/6, which works really well with those anchoring effects. Yep, there's another one. Seems like they are very all in on that sabotage game plan. Honestly, between sabotage and Capabella training, it's very hard to keep card advantage versus Fen and Crowbar, which is why I think she's probably one of the better decks in the format. Kind of just out card advantage your opponent. Honestly, coming from some of the early gameplay of Altered, Lyra's just shot up in my estimations compared to what I expected from them. Luckily I'm first player, so I can play back my season character without losing them. More things that want to be in reserve. So, let's count mana. 2 mana here, 4 mana here, 3 mana here. Could just pray they are out of sabotage effects. Doesn't seem unlikely. Could put Wukong into reserve, into mana, and play these 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I want to keep Wukong? Notably, I don't have any way to trigger my effect this turn. Quite sad. It makes the rare version of this quite good because it gives a boost when it's the rare version. I just don't know if it's worth the slot. Honestly, I'm kind of coming down on Wukong a little bit. Maybe it's worth trading over the the rare onto the Vanguard. Play red onto the grass here. And play Bravos Vanguard as well onto the grass there. The main reason for that is the Vanguard has 4 grass. Just represent kind of as much stats as we can on the left-hand side. Pray they don't have any more sabotage effects. I think that's another thing, is like, I think oftentimes Fen and Crowbar feel bad because they seem to like always have an answer. But like they're halfway through their deck. They just see so much of their deck, so it's kind of hard not for them to almost have an answer, always have an answer. They're defleeting here, represent 8 power total. Get to use their seasoned effect again. I really enjoy this deck. Kind of just feels like all the parts work together in the way you want them to. Probably expecting a Paint Prison here, if I'm honest with you. Haven't seen much of their control effects. Unique Djinn. Kind of interesting. What does it do? So 5 and a 5/5/0. So it just trades out. Like all of its stats and numbers increase by 1. And then when you leave the expedition zone, roll a dice. On a 4+, you may put me into the mana zone. Interesting. And then from the hand, you may put a card into your reserve. If you do roll a dice and target character. Oh, it's all in as well. I didn't see that result. 4 boosts. Probably onto the anchored aloe vera, if I had to guess. Yep. Wow, that's kind of a powerful card. I like that it's a 4+ to get put into mana. So like if you just roll it twice, you will almost always do it. It's also a May effect, like kind of nice if it was at least a must effect, but I'm getting stonewalled by this Djinn a little bit. It's always a question with Altered, is like how bad does it feel to lose to a unique? A little bad, I'll be real with you, but not terribly bad. I think somewhat the novelty, for me at least, beats the feels bad. They're now on game point with a gigantic anchored creature over here, where they care about water. I don't see much luck in this game remaining to me. They have a 4 mana 5/5 here on stats they care about. I didn't get any control, which is what I really needed to see. Like an intimidation here would be fantastic. So yeah, I think I have reached the end of the road, unfortunately. I just want to discuss that last point a little bit about the unique, because I think something to keep in mind here is that like, wow, that Mighty Djinn really blew me out is true, but with 5 mana, I think they could have done a lot of things to blow me out. Like, just play something big to the left. I think I still would have lost this turn. I think it's important to keep perspective on how much above the curve unique cards really are, and I think if you think about it, they're not overly above the curve. This one, quite powerful though. I think like its downside of not being able to put it into mana is not actually a massive downside. Anyway, just keep this rolling along. I'm probably just going to pass out the turn, throw across like a GG, and hopefully wrap it up. To give my closing thoughts on the deck. Unique Robin Hood. Yeah, that's terrifying. My closing thoughts will have to wait. So it costs more. Opponent's cards cost 1 more to play. You may discard a card from reserve to use Cloth Cocoon. Kind of funny, this one casts Cloth Cocoon, this one casts All In, and casts Cloth Cocoon twice, which is quite backbreaking on Robin Hood. Because I think the one downside with Robin Hood normally is you don't get a lot of tempo for actually playing him, like is quite small compared to his cost. But wow, it's a massive unique. It's probably not the best video to give my uniques aren't that powerful speech in, considering these are the 2 most impactful uniques I think I've ever seen. But I still hold true to it to a certain extent. Now to give my thoughts on the game. Once again, I don't think the uniques played a big part in this specific game, with the level of those uniques. I think it's possible they could have played a big part in a different game. It's crazy to me how much that Lyra deck is seeing a lot of love and attention. Just the amount of value you get from getting an extra card, having a lot of really fun like synergies from reserve, being able to just play this massive resource denial strategy when you're getting extra resources is really, really powerful. It's honestly such a surprise to me, but but it's really cool to see. I love Lyra. Love to see them doing well. This deck, the Bravos deck that I played, it's a fun deck. It's really fun to like build up a big guy and get good numbers, but it's very countered by Sabotage, I'm finding out. It's a fun deck. I enjoy playing it a lot. I think it falls into the same category of, I don't want to think too hard, just want to play big things. It's a fun one. Give it a try if you want. Alright, I hope you guys all have a good day. Thanks very much.